I'm here at the Camassia Natural Area. We are southeast of Portland in the suburb of West Linn. There are 27 acres here that have been owned by the nonprofit, the Nature Conservancy, since 1962. And it is this rocky butte area that has all these different habitats. So there are oak savannas, a woodland, wet meadow, and it is really known for these beautiful meadows of camas and other wildflowers that are just starting to bloom. So the camas won't really be fully in bloom for another month or two, but I wanted to come here and see what I could find. Here's a map of Camassia near the entrance. So you can see the different colors are the different habitat areas. In the dark green, we have the mesic forest, which is really just a forest woodland area that is neither really dry nor really wet. And then we have the green area, which is oak woodland area. This has oak trees and a 30 to 70% canopy openness. So almost like an oak savanna. And then we have wetlands and ponds, which are the blue areas. And then it's kind of a beigey color here. It's the meadows and herbaceous balds. And so this is where there's, really not many trees and a lot of rocks and wet meadow areas. Then we have another information sign that just describes how this area was formed through glacial floods. And at one point, this whole area was under over 100 feet of water, which is crazy to think about. And just some reminders about being respectful if you visit Camassia. One rule to note is that dogs and animals are not allowed, so do leave your dogs at home. And as is typical, don't pick plants, don't go off trails, no motorized vehicles. Here we are at the start of the trail in the mesic forest area. There are some Oregon grape, some snowberry, and other deciduous ground covers. So I can see here that there's a pink flag, and it looks like they flagged this invasive ivy area. So I'm assuming that that means that the volunteers are going to come and remove this. Ivy is a really difficult invasive species that is just all over the Portland area. Okay, now that I'm putting this video together, let's try that again. That pink flag is pointing out the poison oak that is right next to it with the dark reddish leaves in the set of 3. And a few days later, I found out the hard way as I got some poison oak on my leg that I've been dealing with for a few days. Over here, it looks like we have some corn lily. Here we are walking out of the forest and into more of a clearing. You can see some Oregon grape and some licorice fern below. These trees are Oregon white oak. You can see they're pretty scraggly and they haven't yet put out their leaves. Walking through this small meadow area, you can see on the left there's a little informational plaque. There are several of these throughout the Camassia Trail. Going a little bit further, even more openness in what would be a type of oak savanna area. Now what we have here is one of the wet meadow areas at Camassia. And, within a month, this should be filled with camas and other wildflowers. So if we look down here, we can see that there's plenty of water just due to all the rains that we have in this season. This really delicate leaf, this is for a snowberry. Looks like there's a lot of snowberry here. Very delicate branches and are deciduous, so they've just leafed out most of them. And back there we can see an Osoberry, formerly known as Indian plum. Those bright green leaves. Here's a beautiful Trillium with its 3 leaves and its flower with 3 petals there. It's very beautiful. Here near one of the trails we have a few invasives. So we have this purple nettle right here with these little purple flowers and the purple hue on the leaves. We also have the shiny geranium. It has these pink stems, bright pink stems, and it's there's a lot of it. It's pretty widespread throughout this nature reserve, sadly. This is a beautiful stand of tall Oregon grape. The flowers are just lovely. This is such a great mass of it. And if we go closer here, we also see there's a licorice fern just interspersed throughout. Very, very lovely. And some oaks in the distance. You can probably hear the highway, the 205 freeway in the distance, as well as some birds. Here's a close-up of the flowers of the tall Oregon grape. These flowers can actually be used to make tea as they are edible. This is a little side trail, but it takes you off the main trail to overlooking in the distance. There's Oregon City, and you can also see the 205 down there. So you can see the 205 from here. And more tall Oregon grape. There's so many bushes. It's amazing. Now, I don't know what this bush is here, but I'm going to have to look that up when I get home. Here's one of the information plaques throughout Camassia, and the view of Mount Hood today is unfortunately just clouds. Over here on a shaded north-facing area, we've got some licorice fern right here. We also have some fringe cup. We also have some shiny invasive geranium. We have a snowberry right here. And I think that's all I see. Here's a close-up of the licorice fern. Really beautiful leaves. Historically, the root of the licorice fern was used medicinally in chest ailments, and I guess the root, when it's chewed on, has a flavor that's like a cross between ginger and licorice. This is one of the side trails that crosses a little stream. This area of the reserve seems to have a little bit less foot traffic than the main trail. There's kind of a temporary plywood bridge here, but nice to hear the sound of the water and see some different plants near the creek area. It's the end of March, so some of the areas of the trail are pretty muddy right now. This is a pretty little hill in the park that has just licorice fern all over it. You can see this area of the reserve has a lot of invasive species, more ivy down here. We also have the Himalayan blackberry. You can see here by the 5 leaves. More shiny geranium. The ivy is even taking over some of the trees, which is really sad. Okay, you have to see this flower. It is so tiny. I have to find out what that is. Miniature. Amazing. I love these little like cup lichens. I don't know what they're actually called. I'll have to look those up too. So fun. Okay, so this tiny flower is the small blue-eyed Mary. Let's see if we can get a good look at that. Really pretty. Just 2 tones of bluish purple there. So cute. So tiny. Amazing. I see some yarrow here. It's these kind of fuzzy, almost a silvery blue looking kind of leaf. And you can see their flower stalks from last year here. They're still standing. So it's pretty nice. Looks like some more blue-eyed Marys. Just, right there. There's a sign for a Yakima basalt. Big rock. Okay, so this is one of the main wildflower meadows at Camassia, and in probably a month or two, this is just going to be exploding with purples and pinks and whites, and so I honestly cannot wait to come back and see that. It's just amazing. But you can see these mossy rocks and all this open field. And it's really important to remember to stay on trails. You know, when people go off the trail, it tramples wildflowers, and, you know, sometimes the ground can get so trampled that they're really unable to return to their previous growth. So it's very important. Just be respectful, leave no trace, stay on the trails. So I'm on the trail right now, and just on the trail, we can see one of the first Camas budding up right there. That little bud. So there's both the common and the Grape version, and they're fairly similar. The Grape version gets a little bit taller. I would say this is probably the common, but hard to say right now. So it looks like things are just really getting ready. Now these trees with the almost orangish or really dark blackened bark, those are madrone trees, I believe. So they're not super common, but it looks like there's quite a few of them in this reserve. So you can see all these thicker looking leaves here. These are Camas, and they're just coming up here. And Camas has a bulb underground. It was used by the indigenous peoples as a food source, so they would dig it up and dry it and cook it and eat it. Camas bulbs are really an incredible food source. They are high in protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. And it's said that they taste like a sweet potato after they are cooked and prepared. And they do have to be cooked to be fully edible. And the Native American tribes actually developed practices of controlled burns of areas in order to, basically farm more Camas. And it was really a crop that they farmed. Hopefully, as I look around in this view, you get a sense of the landscape of the basalt rocks poking through the meadow, of the oaks in the background with the lichen on their branches, and the Douglas fir trees in the distance. The trail that goes through the meadow with boardwalks crossing over the wetter portions. Here's another pond near the edges. We also have more licorice fern, and we have a little strawberry. I'm not sure. There's two different strawberries that this probably could be, but I'm not sure which one. Very cute. Yeah, the strawberries are here. And these little 3-leaf, and the red trailing stem. You can see more strawberry. Looks like a little bit older right here. Looks like someone took a little bite out of this leaf, just hidden here in the ferns. Pretty. So you can take the loop trail back to where the cars are, or you can also continue on the trail to the high school. yeah, so two options here. More cute little flowers here. So cute. I'm not going to go all the way to the high school, but you can see the high school there in the distance through the trees. Time to enjoy walking through another section of Camassia. This time we're walking on a boardwalk with some tall Oregon grape on our left. Up ahead, more basalt rocks, partially covered in moss. And here I step over a gap in the boardwalk. Just slowly walking through and enjoying this cloudy spring day. Here we have some sort of clover. I'm not sure what kind it is, but it doesn't look super familiar to me, so I'm guessing it's going to be a native clover, or I guess rather, I'm hoping it's going to be a native clover. One of the rare plants here is the white rock larkspur, which is also known as pale larkspur. It has beautiful white and blue flowers, and I didn't see it while I was here today because it blooms later on in the season, but it is only in a few sites around Portland and Washington. It is endangered at the state level for the state of Oregon, and it is federally a species of concern. So there are conservation efforts, but it's really incredible if you get a chance to see this plant. Near the end of the loop, you can either go to Wilderness Park or you can continue back towards the main entrance. We're here at another pond at Camassia, and here I've seen a lot of Salal. You can see right here with these bigger, thicker leaves. And this actually should be blooming soon, although I don't see any flowers on these plants, but it does produce berries that are edible. They were used by the indigenous people groups of the area. They were often mixed with other berries because they're not super sweet, but definitely edible. This little guy is an Oregon Saxifrage. There's quite a few of them over here, as you can see. This will have a single stem and some nice little white flowers. Here we have some miner's lettuce. You can see the start of some little flowers and the leaf that just wraps around them. See right here, they'll come to a center at the base. Another cute little, so cute. And they are edible, as the name might imply, lettuce. Now, this is actually our native blackberry. You can see the 3-part leaf here and then a separation before 2 additional leaves. So it's just a little bit different than the invasive blackberry. Wow, I feel like we really hit the jackpot here. Look at all these trilliums. Amazing. Love the pattern on their leaves. It's just so gorgeous. It's really beautiful to see so many small flowered trilliums together. Now, this might look like Pacific bleeding heart, but this is actually an invasive geranium, sometimes called stinky bob or herb Robert. Sad. Sun has finally come out for us today. Before we end our nature walk, I'm going to share a few more photos of other species that I saw today. Here's a trillium that has a little bit of a pink tone to it, and that's something that's totally natural and just happens within the natural variation. Here we have stream violet. This violet needs moist and partially shady areas. Here are some fringe cups. They are called fringe cups because their flowers look like little upside down cups with little fringed edges. Here's Cascade Oregon grape. This variety of Oregon grape only grows to about 2 to 3 feet tall, and its leaves are less shiny than the tall Oregon grape. Here are the leaves of a western buttercup. There are actually quite a few species of buttercups in the area, so I had to go back and check which one this one was. Nuttall's Toothwort is a cute little plant with purple or pink flowers, and as an early bloomer, it is important for early pollinators. Here's a better close-up of Nuttall's Toothwort, those cute little flowers in that group of 3. And with that, thanks for joining me on my trip to Camassia. I hope to come back again once everything is in full bloom. But until then, let me know if there are any other areas in the Portland metro region that you'd like me to go do a nature walk on. Bye, friends!